Welcome to the Uncharted podcast. I am your host, Inés Franklin. My hope for you today is that we discover faith beyond the boundaries. Uncharted is intended to be a safe place for you to listen, learn, and challenge yourself along your journey of faith. May grace and peace be with you today. Welcome to the show.
Well, I'm so glad to be back and having this conversation. For those of you who missed 2 weeks ago, we actually did a podcast on meditation and silence, and it was challenging in some areas and maybe felt really easy in other areas. What part for you felt easier, Mom?
Oh, easier. Meditation. I think that one I like it. It feels good. I love silence, but it's very hard to get silence. It's very hard to create that space in my house.
It's not like you have 5 adult children or 10 grandchildren or, a whole husband or anything like that. Plus everything else you do. Yeah.
Don't we all? Yeah.
Yeah.
We all do. But I want to try that because it's good for me. I know it's good for me.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, today we're talking on the spiritual practice of service. And before we really jump into it, you probably are like, oh, I know what this is. I know kind of what that looks like. And so we'll talk a little bit about what it is, but also kind of how to have it exist in your daily life. But we just really also want to impress upon you that no matter what our stories are, or maybe your stories are, it's not that anybody's spiritual practice of service is better or worse. We are all gifted and called to certain areas, and we are all able to do different things in different seasons. Sometimes there are seasons where the spiritual practice of service looks very different than other seasons. So don't take anything today as a comparison journey. We're just going to have an open, great dialogue. And then we'll also just remember that we're all at different places and in different seasons. So to open us up, would you share what the spiritual discipline of service is all about?
Yes, and again, this is one that I think most of us are familiar with, and that is when we choose to use our talents, our time, our resources, our influence for the benefit of someone else.
Yeah.
So it just means that we're going to, instead of focusing on ourselves with our words, with our actions, with our resources, we're going to use our energy towards the benefit of someone else instead of our own. And so, I think we're all familiar with this because in one way or the other, whether you're a Christian or not, I think people all naturally serve one another. It's something we do. I think when it comes part of our spiritual journey with God and our spiritual walk with Jesus, it takes a slightly different feel to it. And I'll tell you this as an example of kind of like how I entered into Christian service. I've always found myself to be a person that serves. My mother modeled it so beautifully to me that I just saw the beauty of it. And I felt like I was always eager to help others. But when I became a Christian, I thought, oh, okay, now I'm going to take all the skills that I've had, from work, from my past, et cetera, and I'm going to use it to glorify God. And so I want to serve in the highest way possible. And our church was opening a building for children, and they had just opened the building, and they asked for volunteers to come and set up the rooms and put the books out and decorate the rooms so the students could enjoy it during our Sunday school time. And I was like, I'm all in. I love books. I love kids. I love all that stuff. So I signed up. I showed up. And there was this long line of people receiving their task. And you go set up the kindergarten room. You go set up the 5th grade room. I was like all ready for my room. And when I walked up to the front of the line, the gal looked at me and she gave me a bucket and some rags and a bottle. And she said, hey, the construction workers did not clean the windowsills. They're full of dry powder from the drywall. Would you please go around the entire building, 2-story building with lots of rooms. I have no idea how many square feet. It's big. And would you please clean all the windowsills? And I remember thinking, ¿qué es esto? Me mirando a una Latina. You're like, I instantly went into Latina craziness. Like, you look at me, I'm Latina. You think I can clean, which, by the way, yes, I can, because my mom showed me how. But it was like, I came to do something like I'm a business person. I'm a marketing person. I used to have a children's studio. I know how to set these things up. And She's like, no, we need you to clean the windowsills. And I remember complaining to God the entire time that why did I get this task? First time I serve at a church, and I thought I was going to have this great opportunity. And here I am cleaning. And I remember the Lord impressing upon my heart. It wasn't an audible voice, but it was impressing on my heart. Boy, if I can't trust you with this, how can I ask you to serve in any other way? It's like, you're not, right? It's like you're not willing. You're that prideful. It's like, how can I use you if you're that prideful? And this was what I learned about service that day, because it took me an entire day to clean all the windowsills.
Yeah.
And every room I went into, I was seeing people doing the very things I wanted to do while I was cleaning the windowsills. And I remember feeling a bit invisible, to be honest. I felt like everyone was having so much fun, and I was a little grumpy, I have to admit. And I was doing my thing, and no one could see me. And I realized, like, yeah, even service can become a very prideful thing, because we could do it for someone else, but really for our own kind of feel good. And I realized that's a big difference between serving in the name of the Lord. We're not serving for our own benefit, for not only for the benefit of others, but for the glorification of God, which means we're going to get absolutely nothing from that. It's really 100% outpouring, even doing something that you don't want to do. You don't feel like it. It feels even perhaps in our prideful self, but beneath us, or maybe when compared to our skills, it might feel like we're not maximizing our skills. But we're doing it for the benefit of others, and more importantly, to glorify God.
Yeah.
That service, while we might know what it means in our head, it's a lot harder to do.
Yeah,
Don't you agree?
absolutely. Yeah, it's so different. And I work as a team lead at our church. So I am a volunteer and I lead our volunteers within our church and our production team. And I will say that what we see is people who are truly coming in with the posture of this, like, I will serve wherever you need us. I will do whatever, right? How different of a posture that is. And even how I feel like it just shows God so much. Jesus was not above any sort of opportunity or space. He walked into everything and everywhere. And so to serve as the hands and feet of Jesus truly is not to only serve in one place, but it is so easy when maybe we are in the world in other places, right? Like, you were a very successful business person at the time that you were doing this. I am the director of operations for Trocchia, and it's easy enough for me to be like, well, I do that here and I should do this here. But many, many, many Sundays at my church, I spent cleaning things, wiping things down, making sure water works. I do lead a team, but that team looks very, like, during the week, that's when I'm leading. That's when I'm taking care of. That's when I'm checking in on them. On Sundays, I get into the nitty gritty of things. I make sure comms are working. I'm making sure that teams are communicating the way they need to be communicating. I'm helping make sure those things are happening. And it's not this like role I think that people maybe envision if they hear that I'm a team lead. Like, oh my gosh, you get to, no, I fix things in the green room. We throw trash away. We're doing stuff to take care of the production team and the worship team so they can do what they need to do on Sunday. But it's a learning process. And I think it's really easy to, put ourselves up in this space and say, well, I do this everywhere else, so I should get to do this here. And God has a really good way of just being like, hold up, why are we doing this at all? Why are we here at all? Let's focus on what we're supposed to be doing.
Very true. In Luke chapter 22 is the story where the disciples were arguing about who was greatest and who was going to sit, and this picture of Jesus, I came to serve.
Yeah.
I came to serve, and the greatest should be the least, right? And so just that constant reminder that Jesus came, Philippians 2 tells us that while he was himself God, he made himself nothing. He came down and took the posture of a person, obviously a human, and then a servant willing to die on the cross, a shameful death for us.
Yeah.
Jesus was 100% others focused.
Yeah.
And so the spiritual practice of service isn't just the practice of doing things for others and like I said, offering ourselves for others for our sake, but to do it for the sake of God, 100% for the benefit of someone else. And that, again, that requires an intentional thought, because this is what I didn't realize when I signed up to go help in that building. All I kept thinking about was all the fun I was going to have, what a great
Yeah.
job I was going to do. Everyone was going to tell me what wonderful person I was and how,
Yeah.
wow, how talented. I mean, I can admit that to you now, but because
Right. But
God
at the
had to work in
time,
my heart,
yeah.
God had to work in my heart to see like, whoa, you're not going at this with the heart of Jesus. And this, I was a brand new believer and I had to learn about Jesus. And 21 years later, that's how long I've been a Christian, I'm still having to be reminded of that. So
Yeah.
if you're listening to this and you feel a little convicted that, yeah, I'm doing this job and I want to do it, I want to serve this person, but in the end, I feel like it's helping me. Of course, it blesses us. When we serve,
Yeah.
it blesses us. But if we do it just for that reason, then we're missing, what do they say? The forest from the trees or the trees from the
Yeah.
forest? I'm
Yeah.
bad at
We're
that
missing the
idiom.
point. We're missing the
We're
point.
missing the
Yeah.
point. We're missing the point. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And well,
Yeah.
and I do think there's a portion at which people often pick how they serve. Not Probably not on purpose. There's probably not a huge awareness, right? But if you think about it, I can serve at my church with whatever they want me to do, or I can go on a missions trip in which I get to give out wheelchairs. I mean, what sounds cooler? Do
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like, I
Yeah.
also get it when we are serving at church. I will bring it back to my own experience again, right? Like, I serve on the worship team versus I serve on the production team. Production team, we're all in black, we're hidden in the dark, versus the worship team. You're up on stage, you're up in front of everybody, you're getting to be like talked about. People know you. There is a space in which it is easy to say, yes, I get to serve and do these super cool things. But I have found that when you truly do not go in with that mindset, God will place you where you need to be placed, period. Period. Right? So it's
Yeah.
like, I did not start serving on the production team with the goal of being a team lead. I started serving on the production team, and my literal response to them was, put me where you need me. I will learn what you need me to learn. And I have learned a wide variety of skills so that if someone's missing, if something happens, they throw me in and I can do what needs to be done. Am I fantastic at all of these roles? No, I am not. Okay. But I can do it well enough so that it doesn't fall apart. And so I think that that's part of what I also had to choose and continually choose to go into is I go into this church to serve the people who are coming to experience Jesus this Sunday. I come in to serve the team of production or worship or our pastor. I'm coming in to serve them so that they can have an experience. It may look different to me every Sunday. It may not be my favorite role, but that's not why I'm here. But it is tricky, right? It is tricky when we are coming from a worldly or secular aspect or thought process of
Yeah.
like, hey, I get to do X and then I get Y out of it.
Yeah.
And we
Right.
really have to see that it does not matter what the role is or what the title is or what you're doing or how you're doing it. We get the gift of service. We get to do the practice of service, and we get the gift of just giving an opportunity for people to experience Jesus or for the betterment of that person in one way, shape, or form.
Very true. I think of all the years I've had an opportunity to serve in so many different ways, never did I learn more than on that day when I was serving in a position or doing something that I actually did not want to do.
Yeah.
And I was simply doing it because I committed to being of service that day. And I was having a dialogue with God the entire time because no one else was talking to the lady cleaning the windowsill. So,
Yeah.
so it was a very fruitful learning experience for me. And whereas maybe some of the other things I get to do were much more public and seen by others, of course I've learned things obviously, and I've been able to watch God at work, which is beautiful. But man, the one I remember was that one, the very first one,
Yeah.
that made such an impact on me. So, that being said, we've been talking about service in the context of church, but as a spiritual practice, we're Christians. Not everybody works at a church like you and I do,
Sure.
Kayleigh, right?
Yeah.
The spiritual practice of service can be applied in any area of our lives, whether it's at
Yeah.
work, in our community, at home, with our friends, with our
With our
family members,
neighbors. Yeah.
our neighbor. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, that's right. I laugh because Kayleigh has a neighbor that stretches her on a regular basis. How's that? It's a good way to
That's a
put it.
good way of putting it. Yeah, it's challenging. But you know,
Yeah.
if it's I'm not doing it for I'm doing it to show Jesus. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I always say when something stretches me, I go, "Oh, I'm growing more like Jesus right now at this
Yeah.
very moment." This is going to help me grow.
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah, serving. Okay, actually, you bring something up that's quite valuable, Kayleigh, and that is, again, if service is giving our time and our talents and our influence for the benefit of someone else, what if we don't like that person?
Mm,
Right? What if we're
yeah.
serving people or a person that we don't particularly like? That's hard, isn't it? And
Yeah.
it goes, yeah. Tell me about that because I
I
know
think
you
I think a lot of service has to include a healthy dose of humility, right? I think it
there you
also
go.
has to include this concept of it's not about us. It's not. We're
Yeah,
not serving our neighbor or a friend or someone at church or someone less fortunate or the homeless or whoever. We are not serving because we just want to have pride. And I think when we go in having pride, that's when we have fall, right? The pride comes before the fall. There's a reason for that
yeah,
saying. And that's because it can literally cause us to do it for all the wrong reasons. But
yeah,
when we serve people for the betterment of them, despite how we may feel about them, it can really help us to also push past even our own discomfort or our own expectations or our own thoughts about a person and do things completely differently. I definitely struggle with one of my neighbors. It's a little confessional here, but I also have had people that I have had as neighbors that I didn't dislike or have a hard time with, but maybe we also had totally different ways of doing things or expectations
mm,
of what should be done or ways that we should be handling things or values, ethics, morals, all of the things. I haven't had neighbors that I've grown in relationship with in those spaces. And yet service has still applied. They have served me in ways, even though they're not believers. So this is something for anybody. And I have served them in ways, even though they're not believers, right? So it's like I
yeah,
wasn't doing it because it's like you're a Christian, so therefore you deserve to be served. No, I served them and I took care of them. I brought them food when they had their new baby. I talked with them and took care of their older son so that they could take care of their baby. I did all sorts of little things just to love on them. Maybe they will never experience Jesus other than this opportunity, right? But I
yeah,
wanted them to know like, hey, you can be loved on as a neighbor and as all of these pieces. And so that is also something that is what it can look like. It can look like in your everyday life, bringing
yeah,
something for someone or picking, literally, guys, the small act of picking something up off the ground. Let's say someone drops something in front of you, picking it up for them and handing it to them. That is the act of service. That is
yeah,
actually practicing service. We are talking some big things here at the beginning of the podcast episode about like mission trips and Sunday services and all that sort of stuff. But service also is experienced in the minute and in the minors, and just those little tiny pieces that just show people that they are seen and heard, that their experience also matters in the world. And then that
yeah.
helps them experience the goodness of Jesus through you and through what you're doing.
Very true. Very true. I like what Calhoun said in her book. She quotes from Martin Luther King. It's a longer quote, but she said, Martin Luther King Jr. said, everyone can be great because everyone can serve.
Yeah,
I love
I
that,
love
right?
that.
It's like
Yeah.
everyone can serve. And for a Christian, part of the reason why this is a spiritual practice is because we get to actually imitate God, who is the
Hmm.
greatest servant of all.
Yeah.
Um, and like Jesus says, I came among you, or I am among you as one who serves. This is from Luke 22, verse 27. I am among you as one who serves. So when we show up like Jesus and we serve, we are imitating Jesus. And he served his enemy. Scripture says, while we were his enemies, Christ died for us.
Yeah.
Not just people he didn't like, we were his enemies. And
Yeah.
because we were sinful people. And so, how beautiful that he came to serve. So, I want to be more like Jesus. That's the reason we're having this conversation. We all want to grow in our faith, and spiritual practices help us grow. It helps us open up ourselves to the heart of God. And when we do the things we talked about on our last podcast, when we spend time in silence, When we meditate upon God, see, I was going to say medicate again. My goodness, I don't know why my brain does
that. If you guys caught the episode
that.
2 weeks ago, she really had a hard time with the word meditate to medicate. So you have to go back and listen to it and enjoy that for
I don't
yourself.
know what that was about. Okay, when we meditate on God, when we stare and gaze upon God, when we spend time in silence and take the distractions away and open ourselves to God, we're going to see his heart. And his heart is a heart of service. He seeks to serve us in a way that we don't deserve. It's not, again, the work that Jesus did, go read Isaiah 53, is humiliating, everything that Jesus went through. It was the most painful kind of service, and he chose to do it for us. He loved us before we loved him, and we have now the privilege to imitate him. So I pray that this next couple of weeks between now and our next podcast, we would be eager to serve and then listen as the Lord speaks to us in that service, and kind of reforms our heart to think the way he does. And if the service is difficult to do, all the more reason to think about God and think about, wow, God, you did that. You served me in this way, and how difficult that must have been. And as I'm having a difficulty doing this, I'm feeling the sense of humility that comes from service and the beauty of seeing someone else experience service, being loved by. So,
well, and as we close out, absolutely. And as we close out today, one thing I just wanted to touch on, we said it earlier, I want to say it again, right? Jesus came to be a servant here on earth. And that's where we get this term of like servant leadership, where we are leading through serving. So although we are leading, we are also serving. And I do think that that is a mindset that we really want to go into. What is this whole practice all about? Why are we doing this practice? When we are serving others, we are growing more connected to them. And so when we are serving others, we are also growing more connected to God. Just a real quick story as we close out here. I have another neighbor. So I have one neighbor on one side that I have a hard time with, and I have a neighbor on the other side who I love and adore. And this woman serves me all the time. And she doesn't have to. This is not me asking. This is like her just having such a great heart and kind thought process that she has checked on me when my trash cans have been left out too long to see hey, is there anything I can do? There was an extermination problem, and she went and found an exterminator and handed me the number and was like, hey, I'm scheduling. I can schedule for you too. These little tiny things. And we've had open conversations. She's like, listen, I've been a mom once. I know what it's like to have young kids around the house. You need all the help you can get. I'd love to serve and help you in any way I can.
Beautiful.
And she's so, so sweet in what she does and how she handles things. And so I really see, just even though, by the way, she's not a believer, but I see Jesus in just how she handles little minute things and how she cares and keeps up and checks in and helps. And it has also helped her and I build a very close relationship. I go and help her. My husband has helped her put things in her house that she needs, right? So it's we've just built this really sweet relationship off of caring for one another, helping each other in the things that we need. And so that is a really good depiction of what it's like when we serve. We get to also grow in closeness with God, which is why this is a practice in the first place, is that all these practices are a heart and a desire to grow closer to God. So when we are serving others, we are also connecting with God. And that's what's so tender and sweet about it. And so I just don't want us to lose that in anything else, right? Whatever it is, whatever it looks like today, just know we are doing it to grow closer to God.
Amen. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope this has been a blessing to you. Remember, we love to hear from you. So do send us an email at hello@InesFranklin.com or leave a message. If you're watching this on Spotify, you can leave comments there, or on our YouTube channel, you can leave comments there. Don't forget to subscribe to any of these services so you receive all of these podcasts as soon as they are published. And may the peace and grace of Jesus Christ be with you today and all the way until our next time together, for sure. God bless you. We'll see you again soon.
God bless you.
Thank you for listening to Uncharted Podcast with Inés Franklin. Learn more about Inés at unchartedpod.com. Follow Inés' journey on Instagram at Inés Franklin. Sign up for our email list to receive direct access to online experiences and more. Thanks for listening, and join us again next time.